Starting your garden seeds indoors does not need to be stressful or hard. It can actually be quite easy and quite enjoyable if you follow a few important tips, and that's what I'll share with you today. Hi, I'm Gardener Scott, and I start many seeds indoors, and I follow these basic tips which I find to make it easy and successful. One of the questions I'm asked most often is, when do I start my seeds? Well, it varies based on the plant, but it's really easy to figure out an exact date. For example, these Pride of Wisconsin muskmelons that I'm planning on growing this year, I'll be starting from seed. I start by reading the seed package. It'll tell me whether I can start indoors and when I should do it. So it advises that 3 to 4 weeks prior to my last frost date, I can start these seeds indoors in a plantable container. So I know that on April 27th, I'll be starting these seeds. And let me show you how I figure that out. To develop my seed starting plan, I take a calendar, and it's as simple as marking down your last frost date. Now, my last frost date is May 18th, so I have that annotated on the calendar. If you don't know your last frost date, I'll have links in the description below to some of my videos that describe how to figure that out. The muskmelon says start seed 3 to 4 weeks prior to the last frost in plantable pots. So, starting from this date, I'll work backwards. There's 1 week, there's 2 weeks. Now we go into April, and here's 3 weeks. So on my calendar, I've written muskmelon, and I'll be starting them in peat pots. I've done this with most of the other flowers and vegetables that I'm planning on starting. On April 20th, I'll be starting my zinnia seeds. On April 13th, agastache. On April 6th, I'll be doing okra in peat pots. That's the 6-week point before my last frost date. And I just work backwards. In March, on the 30th, I'll be starting nasturtium, basil, gaillardia, and daisies. On the 23rd, that's the big day when I start my tomatoes and tomatillos. And I continue working backwards with eggplant, petunia, and rudbeckia on March 9th. And then my peppers will be started along with yarrow and pansy on February 23rd. There's other useful information on seed packages in addition to when to start them. I look to see how old the seeds are. This winter squash was packed for the 2018 growing season, and this summer squash was packed for the 2017 growing season. So by the time I get to the 2021 growing season, these seeds are already 3 to 4 years old, and I have some seeds that are even older than that. Before I take each individual seed and place it into a cell to start, I like to know the viability, how many of these seeds I expect to germinate. So, the second tip, if you are dealing with older seeds, go ahead and do a germination test. And I have a full video on this that I'll link below. And it's very simple. I'll just take some of these seeds, put them on a wet paper towel, and then put that inside of a plastic sandwich bag. And then monitor over a course of days to see if they germinate, and if they do, what germination rate I have. The idea is basically, are these still good seeds? Before I put them in my cells, I'd like to know if they're going to grow. It really doesn't matter where you start your seeds. You can use a kitchen, a bathroom, a designated area like I have in my basement, but wherever it is, it should be clean. I begin every season by wiping off the tables, getting them as clean as possible, and then sanitizing afterwards. Try to kill any bacteria that might be on the surfaces. I also make a point to only work with clean pots and clean seed starting trays. because there is the potential of bacteria and harmful fungi that can work their way in. I harden off most of my seedlings before I transplant them. Well, while they're outside, they're taking all those spores, all of that bacteria blowing in the wind, and it's being transferred to the same containers that I'll be using the next year. So I sanitize using a bleach solution, and it's a 9-to-1 solution. 1 part bleach to 9 parts water. In a gallon jug, which I typically use because I have a lot to wash, I'll put about a cup and a half of water and then fill up that gallon jug. And then using a big container like this, I'll fill it with that bleach water and then wash all of my pots and all of my trays. This is a great way to help cut down on some of those things that can harm the young seedlings, like damping off disease. I also suggest that you try to be as organized as possible. It's a system that is often used in cooking. It's called mise en place, where you put all of your ingredients and all of your tools at your fingertips, so that once you start working, there won't be anything to disrupt the activity or something that you forget to do. You have your pots, you have your seed trays, you have your seed packages, you have your soil, you have your lights ready to go, you have watering cans, you have a pencil to mark what it is you're sowing. Everything is ready to go before you begin. That way, when you do start filling up the trays and putting the seeds in, it flows very nicely, it's very easy, and you can make sure that you can accomplish all of the steps that are necessary, from taking this seed out of the package and putting it into the container that you're going to grow in. I've mentioned in many other videos that you should use a designated seed starter mix to start your seeds. And whether you make it yourself or buy it pre-bagged, the most important thing you can do for your seedlings is to make sure that the mix is moist before you put seeds into it. Most mixes are going to be made with either peat moss or cocoa coir, sometimes a combination of each. And if you put a dry mix into cells like this, put your seed in and then water, well, most of that water is going to be repelled by those dry materials. But when the ingredients are moist, now the seed can be in a moist environment from the beginning, and it really aids germination. And it's really easy to determine the right moisture level. You just take some of your mix, squeeze it into your hand, and it should hold its shape. If you squeeze hard, there should be no drops of water falling out the bottom. This is evenly moist, it's all ready for the seeds, and germination will happen as soon as possible. It's pretty important that you label and mark everything that you grow, believe me, because I've had a lot of mix-ups over the years and ended up growing something that I didn't even know what it was. If you're growing in yogurt cups or little plastic pots like this, go ahead and begin by labeling plant tags and then putting the plant tags into the pots. If you're using a system like this to start your seeds, this has 72 cells. Well, I've got a really nice system where I put a grid together and identify all of the seeds that I've placed in the tray. I find it pretty easy and simple to put together a grid of 72 squares that correspond to each of the cells in that 72 cell tray. And then I can identify exactly what seeds I sowed. Now, I sowed in rows, but I could easily have different seeds growing in every single square. I annotated the date that I sowed the seeds, and I've also started annotating when the seeds germinate. This is really great information to keep for the next season if I find something I really like to grow. And when these seedlings are ready to transplant, well, then I just take a plant tag. I've already got the name and I know what the plant is, and then I can transfer this either outside or into a bigger pot. For better success with seed starting, you should be more aware of temperature and humidity. I have a thermometer hygrometer that tells me the temperature both inside and outside, and also the humidity. Right now in this grow area, it's a little over 68 degrees Fahrenheit and 28% humidity. These are important numbers to know and well within the range of most of the seeds that we're going to germinate and for the seedlings to begin growing. While air temperature is important, soil temperature is more important for germinating seeds. So my air temperature is above 68 degrees Fahrenheit, but the seed starter mix that's moist and sitting in the open air is only at 60 degrees Fahrenheit. This is why you'll often see recommendations to use heat mats when you start your seeds. Now, it does depend on the plant because many cool season plants, peas and spinach and brassicas, they can do fine with a 60-degree temperature of the seed starter mix. But those warm season plants, the tomatoes, the eggplants, the peppers, they won't germinate very well at all when the soil is that low. If it's below 70 degrees Fahrenheit, it's going to take a long time for them to begin germinating and growing. So for those plants, I definitely encourage a heat mat. One of the questions I get most often is, why aren't my pepper seeds germinating? Well, it's probably because of the heat. But you don't need heat for everything, because I'll also get questions of why my lettuce is getting so leggy. Well, maybe it's because it's too much heat. Pair the seed and the plant with the heat requirements, and you'll have much more success. While my overall air humidity is 28%, we want to make sure that the soil stays evenly moist during the entire germination process. And to ensure that, we need to make sure the humidity is as high as possible when those seeds begin germinating. This is a tray that I started just last week, and some of these plants have started to sprout. Well, I've kept this plastic cover over them so that they can have as humid an environment as possible. And you can see the condensation on the outside. By covering the plants, you're ensuring more success with the germination, but particularly the initial growth of those seedlings. If you buy one of these multi-cell seed starter kits, it should come with one of those plastic domes that you can use to cover the soil and the seeds. But you don't have to follow that kind of system. If you're growing in just simple pots, I like to reuse the bags I get in the produce section of my store. These work great to cover the pots and help keep that humidity higher. Because remember, the soil is moist, and this is just holding in that moisture. I'll also reuse some of these plastic bags that have few other purposes and cover the pots as well. These are not going to stay in place for very long. Once the seedlings emerge and begin to show their true leaves, well, we'll remove these covers and allow those seedlings to grow in the normal humidity that we have in our grow area. This next tip is one that I've been doing for years, but I really didn't think much about it until I was reminded of it by Karen Christensen, who mentioned it in a recent comment on another video. And that's when you fill your tray with your soil mix, leave one of the cells empty. After you remove the plastic that was holding in all that humidity, you still need to keep the soil moist. It's not a great idea to overhead water all of these young seedlings, especially with 72 cells. You can cause damage to those small seedlings, and your soil can get too wet. But if you have an open cell, now it makes it very easy for you to water. You can see exactly the level of the water, how quickly it's being absorbed, and more importantly, you're watering from the bottom, which really encourages root growth. The roots will grow down to the water and make for a stronger plant. While most of the seeds that we sow indoors do not require light for germination, As soon as that little seedling breaks the surface of the soil, it needs light. It needs as much light as possible to begin photosynthesis. I like to use about 18 hours a day for my very young seedlings, and that's what I have these lights set for. I'll put the tray underneath the lights and they're all ready to go. The way I do that is with timers. Now, you could get up in the morning, come down and turn your lights on, and then the last thing you do at night is turn the lights off before you go to bed. But I find it so much easier to use a timer, and all of my lights are timed to give me that amount of light I want. Because as the seedlings grow, I'll reduce from 18 down to 14 to 16 hours of light. And for more established plants, I'll even cut it back to 12 to 14 hours of light each day. And that's very easy to do by just plugging all of my lights into timers that are plugged into outlets. And then I adjust the timers as needed, depending on what plants I'm growing. By getting in the habit of following some of these time-tested tips, you really can make your seed starting experience much more enjoyable and much more successful. And also, to help you on that journey, I suggest you watch another of these Gardner Scott videos to learn more about seed starting. I'm Gardner Scott. Enjoy gardening.